Beetlejuice wasn't just Tim Burton's breakthrough, it was a gothic comedy that proved weird could be wildly successful. Released in 1988, this supernatural romp about a dead couple haunting their own home became a cultural phenomenon that launched careers, created a franchise, and made saying someone's name 3 times genuinely creepy. But behind the striped suits and sandworms lies a production filled with studio panic, improvised genius, and practical effects that pushed 1980s technology to its limits. Here are 12 bizarre facts about Beetlejuice that'll make you appreciate this twisted masterpiece even more. 1. Michael Keaton appears on the screen for only 17 minutes in a 92-minute movie, yet he dominates every frame he's in. His performance was so electric that audiences and critics thought he was in the entire film. Keaton understood that Beetlejuice needed to be concentrated chaos. Too much would exhaust the audience, but the right amount would leave them wanting more. He improvised most of his lines and physical comedy, creating a character that felt unpredictable and dangerous. That's why he steals the movie despite minimal screen time. 2. The original Beetlejuice script was much darker and more violent, featuring Beetlejuice as a genuine demon who tried to assault Barbara. Studios passed on it repeatedly until producer David Geffen saw potential in the concept and brought in Tim Burton to reimagine it. Burton transformed Beetlejuice from a horror villain into a mischievous trickster with twisted charm. He lightened the tone while keeping the darkness, creating something that appealed to both audiences and teenagers. That balance between scary and funny became Burton's signature style for decades. 3. Winona Ryder was only 15 when she was cast as Lydia Dietz, and Tim Burton designed the entire character around her genuine teenage outsider energy. She wasn't acting gothic, she actually was the weird kid who felt misunderstood. Ryder brought authentic teenage angst to the role because she was living it. Burton saw her in Lucas and recognized a kindred spirit, someone who understood what it felt like to not fit in. Lydia became the emotional heart of the movie because Ryder's vulnerability made the supernatural elements grounded and real. 4. Alec Baldwin and Gina Davis had to make their dead characters more likable and interesting than the living ones, which required them to play innocence and kindness in a way that didn't feel boring or saccharine. Burton needed the Maitlands to be so genuinely sweet that audiences would root for them, even though they're literally dead and haunting people. Baldwin and Davis created this perfect small-town earnestness that made their frustration with the afterlife hilarious. They're the straight men in a movie full of chaos, which is actually the hardest role to play. 5. The sandworm was a massive practical puppet that required 12 puppeteers to operate simultaneously. It was so large and complex that it could only be filmed in specific angles, which is why you never see its full body in most shots. The creature design team built this 30-foot puppet that weighed hundreds of pounds and had to move fluidly like it was swimming through sand. The technical limitations actually made it scarier. You only see glimpses with threatening portions, which lets your imagination run wild and fill in the rest. Sometimes constraints create better results than unlimited resources. 6. Danny Elfman composed his second film score for Beetlejuice after Pee-wee's Big Adventure, creating a sound that blended carnival music, horror atmospheres, and orchestral bombast into something completely original. Elfman's score captures the movie's tone perfectly, playful but menacing, whimsical but dangerous. The main theme has this twisted carnival quality that tells you nothing is quite right in the world. This collaboration cemented the Burton-Elfman partnership that would define both of their careers. I actually feel lucky that I saw Elfman live in concert with Oingo Boingo back in October of '93. It was right around this time, right around Halloween. And it was very whimsical, carnival-y, evil-like. It was just, I don't know. Let's just say that Halloween and Danny Elfman go really well together. 7. The miniature model town that Adam builds was created by actual model makers and took months to construct. Every tiny building, street, and detail was handcrafted to be camera ready for close-ups. Burton insisted on practical miniatures rather than matte paintings because he wanted the texture and reality of physical objects. The model becomes a character itself. It represents Adam's need for control in a life he can no longer control. The craftsmanship shows Burton's respect for old-school filmmaking techniques. 8. Catherine O'Hara improvised much of Delia's pretentious artist dialogue and physical comedy, drawing from her Second City training and her own observations of art world phonies. O'Hara understood that Delia needed to be ridiculous but not hateable. She's deluded but not malicious. The character became this perfect satire of the 1980s art culture where people valued weirdness over substance. O'Hara made Delia funny instead of just annoying, which is a fine line to walk. 9. The Afterlife waiting room featured dozens of unique creature designs, each with its own death backstory. The makeup and effects teams created elaborate prosthetics for characters who appear for only seconds on screen. Burton insisted that every background character have a complete design and story, even if audiences never learn it. The guy with the shrunken head, the magician sawed in half, the burned face, each one of them got full makeup treatment. This attention to detail creates a world that feels lived in and complete rather than just a movie set. 10. The dinner party possession sequence required weeks of choreography and wire work to create the illusion of supernatural control. The actors had to learn precise movements while making them look involuntary and chaotic. This scene is pure Tim Burton creativity, taking something terrifying like demonic possession and making it darkly comic through music and choreography. The actors are basically performing synchronized swimming in the room on dry land while pretending they have no control. It's technically complex but looks effortlessly chaotic, which is the mark of great filmmaking. 11. Jeffrey Jones created Charles Dietz as the embodiment of 1980s yuppie culture, a man who sees everything, including his new home and family, as a business opportunity or status symbol, rather than something with intrinsic value. Jones played Charles as someone who's not evil, just completely disconnected from anything real or meaningful. He represents everything Burton hated about corporate America, the reduction of beauty and individuality to profit margin. Charles is scarier than the ghost because his type of person actually exists. 12. Beetlejuice was made for only $15 million, but earned over $73 million domestically, becoming a surprise blockbuster that launched Tim Burton into the A-list and proved that weird original stories could compete with major franchises. Warner Brothers didn't expect much from this strange little movie, but audiences were hungry for something original and different. Beetlejuice showed Hollywood that auteur vision could be commercially viable, which opened doors for other weird filmmakers. It spawned an animated series, a musical, and a sequel 36 years later, proving that genuinely creative films find their audiences. So there you have it, 12 bizarre facts about Beetlejuice that proved this wasn't just a quirky comedy. It was a filmmaking revolution that changed what Hollywood thought audiences wanted. From 17-minute performances to massive puppet sandworms, every element came together to create something that's still weird and wonderful decades later. Which fact surprised you most? And here's the ultimate Beetlejuice question for the comments. If you could summon any movie character by saying their name 3 times, who would it be and why? If you like deep dives into the movies that proved weird is wonderful, smash that subscribe button and ring that notification bell. I've got more behind the scenes stories from the films that dared to be different and changed cinema forever.